So yeah, this is my maiden voyage streaming. So thanks for joining in. So just give me a minute to get things organized. Yeah, hi. Thanks everyone for coming to join the live stream. So we'll be starting in just a couple minutes. So if you have a hot beverage, it's a good time to go find something and we'll get started. Okay, so let's start this. Wonderful. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining this live stream / podcast. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Justin Hollander, and what we're doing today is a little bit multifaceted. So here you will be participating in this live stream through the Hubbub Studios YouTube channel. Now, Hubbub is something that I have been running for almost 10 years, and we've been recording these comedy episodes of about urban planning. And so if you haven't yet, please do check that out. But I also run a podcast, Cognitive Urbanism. And so this is also going to be integrated into that podcast. So thanks for joining. What we want to do for today's topic is talk about something that's literally happening right now in the news, which is former President Barack Obama has officially opened today his presidential library museum. They're calling it a center because it's, you can see on the note here, over 19 acres. It's not just like a building that has his papers. The design that they came up with is much more substantial and includes a public library. And apparently doesn't include his papers. I think everything's just been digitized and it's available on associated website. But so this is much more of a museum garden complex. And so, this is one of the first articles that I read. Michael Kimmelman is a very well-known architectural critic. From the first things I read about what the Barack Obama did here, spending almost $1 billion in Chicago South Side, and he is not generous. So we're going to just start here. Ambitious, formidable, yet it's the tallest monument yet to presidential self-glorification. But if you look at some of these images, these words, cold and forbidding, I think really hit the target. I saw somewhere else they were describing it as kind of modern brutalism. I'm not really agree with that particular terminology, but yeah, I mean, certainly it conveys, this is does not look like 1960s, 70s brutalism, but it is definitely scary looking. And let me just skim through a few more of these. This is not a welcoming environment. I mean, there's some stained glass here, which is very attractive, but for the most part, really not welcoming. And that's really the gist of the critique in this article. I wanted to show you guys a couple others. So this is the Guardian. It's a UK paper, like a Klingon prison, near windowless. I mean, that's really a big deal, the fact that there are no windows. But what's helpful about this particular image, shot from a drone, you get a sense of the kind of larger complex with the pretty elaborate gardens. And then there's this other, a couple other buildings. I think this is the public library on the site. So if you can look past the tower, it's probably worth understanding a little bit more about how this kind of larger space works. But it's hard to look past the tower, and that's, I think, really what's going on here. That it's a monolith, a 2001 era monolith, and very much out of a sci-fi movie, a monument or a mausoleum. Here they said. And I have one more I'm going to show you. This is the New York Post, so a little bit of a political bent here, but certainly describing it in negative terms of monstrosity, and then referring to displacement as a bringing in another kind of element which we can talk about as well. But I want to just close that. Okay. Stop sharing for a second, and we can kind of go back to some of those images. But so for those of you just joining, thank you for being part of the live stream. We are here to talk about the Barack Obama's Presidential Museum Library Center, and this is just a building that's been recognized through a lot of critics as being just plain ugly. And what can we say about that from an urban planning's perspective? That's really what I want to kind of cover with you guys today. When we as a society create spaces, sometimes it's just market driven. Sometimes it's a private property owner. They acquire land and they build something as long as it fits with the established rules, zoning. There's a lot of discretion for them to build something ugly. I mean, that's the reality. But a presidential library, museum center, I think there's a higher bar, and hence that's why there's been such controversy surrounding this museum library center. So, let's see if we can just spend a little bit of time unpacking it. Like what exactly is going on here? The one article I read about suggested that Barack Obama was just very heavily involved in the design, particularly of this tower, and that there was a sense that he wanted to make an important statement, something that was very large, monumental, and evocative, emotionally evocative. So much about what I have been doing research on in urban planning over the last 8 or so years has been looking at the ways that people respond to the built environment at an emotional level. Sometimes urban planners forget that us humans, the ones who are going to visit the museum, are going to walk around it, who live nearby, that we are evolved mammals who are bipedal. We walk on 2 feet, we stand upright, and our heads tend to tilt, usually about 3 degrees while we're walking. This building is just unequivocally just not built for that creature, us. It's just not, because we know what that creature, us, what we need. And we need certain types of shapes and forms and colors and materials for us to be comfortable, to be relaxed, and to be engaged. And we're going to just start with one really, really simple, clear quality of this museum, which is the building's facade. So as people approach it, there are some vertical striations on the left side. There are a couple punched windows kind of high up and a few trees planted. But basically, the whole thing is just blank. And I'm sure that former President Barack Obama and his architects were purposeful about that. But unfortunately, they have not studied human biology, and they don't understand that this is not good for humans. Maybe it's good for dogs or other creatures, but if you're building it for humans, this is not working. what we have really compelling science, and I'm going to show you some examples. We have really compelling evidence that the human beings don't like seeing blank walls, that's actually really bad for us, that the view of complexity is good for us. So you saw a couple windows, a couple striations. That's the problem. You need to be able to see more than just a couple windows and a couple of striations. Humans are not designed for that purpose. We're designed to be able to be seeking out that kind of complexity. And so, I think I'm just going to give you some examples here. I can share my screen again. This is still new. It's still new to me. All right. So I'm going to just show you guys a library in Staten Island, New York. That's on the right. And this is my former student. And she's looking at the library, and we're tracking her eyes. We're tracking her eye movement. Watch this. And you can see how her eyes look at the different parts of the building. Okay. Now here, what we did is we photoshopped out the windows. We created these blank walls, just like the kind of blank walls that the Obama Center has. And it's amazing. People look at the building differently. And we're really talking those first 3 to 5 seconds when on an unconscious level, you're not even controlling where you're looking. Your brain, that evolved mammal that you are, is making all the decisions about where your eyeballs are gonna look. So this is what it looks like those two students compared. You can see on the left side, basically can't even see the blank walls. And this is presented in a different way. It's called a heat map. It's not about heat and cold, it's about intensity. And you can see there's just really phenomenal intensity on the one on the right in terms of the windows. So what you're doing is your eyes are focusing in on where there is different types of complex elements, and they're not looking. Your eyes are not drawn to that blank wall. So what happens is the Obama Museum ends up basically being invisible. Your eye won't see it. I think I had something else here. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing again. So really, this is really groundbreaking in terms of understanding how poor a design that Barack Obama has created here, because not only will people not see it, they will not see this building at an unconscious level. If you don't see something at an unconscious level, then you won't remember it. So that's how our brain operates. If you are not looking at something, it's through those fixations, as you saw the eye movements when the eye stops and the circle kind of gets big. That's a fixation. And as the eye fixates, that's when the information goes into the brain, and depending on the circumstances, either short-term or long-term memory. And it's not happening. It's literally not happening for a blank facade. So that means that basically people have nothing to fixate on when they look at that building. And so they're not going to remember it. I mean, there are other striations and a couple windows. It's just not a lot for such a massive structure. So yeah, I mean, if someone gets hired, maybe they're a professional architectural critic and they're still, you have to look at the building. Yeah, they'll look at the building, but nobody else will. And so in that sense, the president has failed to create a monument, an object that's important, and it's going to contribute to the vitality of life in that neighborhood, and certainly to his own legacy. So, I mean, this is one element of the debate, and I'm really glad that you guys all kind of joined in and called in to log in to be part of this live stream to kind of talk about what's going on with this museum, this library center. And I wanted to open up, and if anyone has any questions or comments, but this is really an opportunity to talk about the Obama Center, but also to talk more broadly about some of these topics and themes. I welcome any questions or comments. I also have been on this Hubbub Studios page for quite a long time, but in my role has been always behind the scenes. So I'm really happy to be able to come in front of the camera here and join you all in talking about Hubbub. We will be working in the fall on a new episode of Hubbub. So definitely subscribe to this channel, and depending on a variety of factors, we may or we may not do future live streams. This was actually not even my idea. This was my students' idea. So I can imagine a situation where maybe one of them may end up doing additional live streams. So if you have ideas for topics, definitely we'll welcome that. So so thank you so much for calling in. I'll just kind of linger here for a minute if anyone does have any questions. Otherwise, I look forward to staying in touch, and feel free to continue to subscribe to this channel and also my podcasts, where I'm going to post this, is Cognitive Urbanism. That's on Cognitive Urbanism is on the Apple Podcasts. So thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm just going to read that question in the chat. Given what you said, and assuming the Obamas and the architects aren't idiots, why would they have built the building this way? Very good question. So one of the things I was trying to emphasize earlier in my talk was that most urban planners and architects are not very aware of the way that humans are constructed, how we evolved, and what we're made out of. And so as a result, they don't know, and they don't particularly care. In that sense, their work ends up addressing other societal values. And I don't want to suggest that there's no value, but certainly a lot of kind of social concerns, political concerns, that the driving force, the values that undergird that kind of modern urban planning and architecture practice is just grounded in other values. For example, the need to create equitable spaces, the need to be able to provide affordable housing. These are all perfectly valid values to kind of care about. And so the concern ends up being kind of unilaterally about those. In this case, I think the concern was that Barack Obama was not that worried about what kind of emotional experience this was going to have for regular people. It was more about trying to make a grand artistic and political statement. And so the problem is, by doing that, he failed the addressing the need, the human need for psychological awareness. But they've accomplished other things. So there's been, I showed you some examples of some negative critiques. There's been a lot of positive critiques out there. Critics have been very positive. There are some, and for those people, they see this as being an important political statement and artistic statement. So I'll give them that. Yeah. So another question came up. Thank you, Sarah H420. The intended idea behind Obama's team's planning process. Well, one of the things that I did read about was that Barack Obama had this notion that there would be this tower in the middle, and that these four hands would be kind of coming together. And that was some sort of a political message about unity. There was an ethic there that he wanted the building to communicate. And so, when you do that, you create essentially like a work of art, and that's important. but you lose something. You lose the ability to be attentive to the human experience. I want to just share something else with you guys. Those of you who are still sticking around, the diehards. It's just that when we think about, let's see if I can find this while I'm talking. When we think about having to make these design choices, and what are you going to value? One option is to say, well, I'm going to use this as a way to kind of express some sort of artistic priorities or political. I mean, those are all totally fair. I mean, people are allowed to do that. But those are possibilities. That's not the only thing you could do. There are alternatives. And so here's this one I'm going to show you here. So I worked with my students and the Classic Planning Institute on this competition entry for the United States Department of Transportation. Was looking for ideas on how to create beautiful transportation spaces. And so I just want to show you guys what we've done here in terms of look, you can see this is a new building. This is a new building. This would be a renovated building over here. You can see the existing conditions. We could have used this as an opportunity to create some sort of political statement or a artistic statement, but instead we were trying to respond to this kind of condition that what's there right now. I mean, it's just really unpleasant. It's just an unpleasant place to be. And so, what would that entail to create attractive, resilient spaces? And this is what we've done here, and including sculptures by a very well-renowned sculptor. Definitely drawing on kind of classical, traditional architectural practices. But I really just want to show you the images. The renderings are just beautiful. This is my team is very impressive. And so by choosing this, I mean, of course, everything's political. So we have had to make some choices. But if Barack Obama was interested in creating a place that people wanted to go to, I mean, wouldn't you want to go here? This is the kind of design that human biology dictates. This is the kind of design that people are going to be drawn to, want to be in, not the museum that he's created. Okay. Well, this has gone on much longer than I even thought it would, but I appreciate everyone staying on, and we definitely will be in touch for a future live stream. Thank you. Bye.